Welcome to another episode of Tech Lounge, a podcast where we discuss the ever-changing world of technology. And now your host, Dan Duran.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Duran, and I'm the host of the Tech Lounge. Welcome. Here we discuss topics related to business, leadership, technology, and of course, today, cybersecurity. Welcome to the show. Just remember, we stream live, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, every Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And the reason I say Eastern Standard Time is because I had one of our listeners reaching out to us and asking, are you guys Pacific? Because this guy was in LA. So John Atkins, thank you for reaching out. The show is getting bigger, right, Andrew?
No, absolutely. We're branching out right across the nation, which is wonderful. Feel like celebrities in our own minds.
Exactly, in our minds. So we're also on podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Podbeam. So make sure you join us. Follow us using the hashtag Dan Duran and watch us every Friday. Welcome, everybody. This is the Tech Lounge. So sit back and relax. Woo! So today we don't have any guests, right? Unfortunately, but of course I have with me my co-host extraordinaire, Andrew Somerton, CEO of Bewire Technologies and Rhino Cybersecurity. Make sure you visit the sites. Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Hey, Dan. Always a pleasure to be here, buddy. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining again.
So we had a lot of people asking questions about cybersecurity when we were with Cedric from Pond IT a couple of weeks ago, and we didn't have enough time to be able to answer those cybersecurity questions. So we are like, okay, we don't have anybody today. So how about we just answer questions from our public, right?
Absolutely.
So from you, our listeners, because we love you, right? So
Absolutely.
Andrew, tell us a little bit about the backstory for today.
Sure.
Why cybersecurity?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're very fortunate to be in an incredible industry. So, Bewire Technology is a technology-driven organization, and Rhino Cybersecurity is, cybersecurity, and so they mesh beautifully together. So, it gives us a really great insight to when we're building technology, how to apply the cybersecurity side of things, and how again they mesh together. We specialize at Rhino Cybersecurity in vulnerability penetration tests. We're very, very proud of our proprietary MDR, or Managed Detection and Response solution, that we'll dive into a little bit today to help businesses understand a valuable tool that they should have. But then also what's really exciting about this, based on other questions we've had, interaction, and we get constant phone calls as well as a cybersecurity company asking for the human components or their cell phones or how to protect themselves. And, a lot of this stuff we don't do and we don't specialize in, but we do definitely have some experience and knowledge in it. So we would love to share that with everybody today. So we're really, really looking forward to fielding those calls and giving somebody a little bit more insight to cybersecurity and the importance of being aware of, what to look for and how to protect themselves or their businesses.
All right. Beautifully said.
So, you know what? I'm going to jump right in, Deb, because I just want to know what's happening out there, who's joined us, because it's always exciting. We have a lot of regulars who join us. So let's see. We have Kai basically joining us, saying hello. Hello, Kai. I know you've been on the show many times before, so welcome. Tamara, I'm so glad you watched today. There you go. I think, Dan, you have a relation to Tamara, don't you?
That's actually my wife.
There you go. Hi, Tamara. Welcome, Tamara. Great to have you here. Aurora, we have said hello. I know I've seen that name before too, so thank you so much for joining us. Hello. Kevin, again, we got another hello. Welcome, Kevin. Again, I think I've seen that name before too, so welcome. Adriana, hello. And Diego. I definitely know Diego. Diego, hello, guys. Hello, Diego.
Diego is actually our marketing manager. Kudos to you. Shout out, Diego. We love you, man.
Absolutely.
Hi, guys. All right, lots of love, lots of love. So let's go right into the questions. Some of our questions. So before I get into my own questions that I compile from people, is there anybody out there who would like to ask us anything in terms of cybersecurity, small business, medium-sized business?
Just we'll wait 1 second, see if anything's posted. If not, maybe I'll ask something.
No questions yet.
Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Okay, so let's start the process. So, Dan, one of the things we get on a regular basis at our business is obviously, the human component of cybersecurity. How important is that in today's business world? I mean, because we never want to instill a fear in our employees so they stop doing stuff and stop interacting with emails, etc. But I guess how important is the human component of cybersecurity?
Oh man, that's a really good question. It's actually one of the questions that I had here.
Oh,
so
there you go.
the technology between the difference between technology and the human component, right? So cybersecurity awareness training, it's absolutely imperative that companies out there, whether you're a small company with 2-3 employees or a large organizations with thousands of employees, you need to have awareness training, cybersecurity awareness training. Why? Because, unfortunately, the statistics are pretty staggering. So 90% of the cybersecurity breaches that happen out there, hacking, all of that stuff, happens because of the human component. It's because you clicked on a link or you did something or installed a software or got an attachment and ran a virus inside of the network and got hacked. And that is critical. So 90%, it's, the human component is also called the weakest link, right? Unfortunately, you can have all the security technology in place, firewalls, top-notch cybersecurity, spend a lot of money. But if people inside of the organization don't know how to behave or sanitize or be able to, be aware of what they're clicking, what they're doing, then you can sabotage the entire operation, right? So I saw a couple of questions in there as well.
Yes, let's go. Let's see. Do we have any questions at this point? So, Kai, just wondering how often should I back up my computer? Great question, Kai. So what we'll do is, guys, we're going to jump back and forth from questions, and some things may be answered. We're going to come full circle, probably back to the human component, because I think that's really important. But let's answer Kai's question right now, Dan, if we can. Just wondering, how often should I back up my computer?
Every day. Back up your computers every day. So not necessarily the entire workstation, but at least you have to back up your files, and make sure you do it to a repository, either secure online or on-prem backup server. So don't rely on a USB drive connected to your computer, but back it up every day. If it's a server, obviously you need to have different specialized backups on the cloud and redundancy inside of on-premise, so you can get back to working easily.
Dan, in regards to that question, is typically, do companies have policies that when you're working in an organization, do they teach you that, or do you just know that, or how does typically that, if you don't know that, should I back up my computers? Is there someone in an organization you should be asking or checking with, so make sure you are backing up your computer properly?
That should be done automatically for you. As a CEO, right, Andrew, your job is not to back up computers. Right? Your job is not to do IT work inside of your computer, cybersecurity work. Your job is to know what's bad, so you don't, like the security awareness part that we were talking about. So in an organization, IT and security people should be able to automate that process for you. So every time you're connected, you to power on your computer, automatically there's a backup happening. Sometimes what happens, because you're an executive, you need to have more frequent backups. But for a general somebody, if I lose 1 day's work, is not a big deal. But if you are as an executive, sometimes those backups have to happen every couple of hours, right, or every hour, and that's done automatically from your IT department. So
perfect.
Next
the reason I asked that is because some people may not know that, so that's really important to for those out there who are listening. Perfect.
All right,
let's move on to another question, unless you want to share one, Dan. There we go. Oh, wait a second. From Tamara. what is the biggest cybersecurity threat to companies out there right now? So basically, sorry, let me just read that again quickly so it's clear to you, Dan. What is the biggest cybersecurity threat to companies out there right now?
Oh, that's a really good question. And thank you, my dear, for sending me that curveball. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Just kidding. That's a really good question. I think, personal opinion, in an organization where you have all the security in place, so all the devices are working securely, the people are trained, and all of that, the one of the biggest is 0-day attacks. So 0-day attacks, basically when signatures, somebody gets hacked, a server gets hacked, and they still have valid signatures, their IP is really well, there's no good reputation on it, and then you get attachments that go right to your inbox. It doesn't go to the spam box, and there's no filtering process or anything like that, and you click and you get hacked, right? So that's 0-day attacks are very, very important, because they're not even the security is not aware that that's happening inside of an organization. Now, right, of course, if you have a managed detection and response 24/7 365 operation like Rhino Cybersecurity does for small businesses and medium-sized businesses, we take care of that for you. So right, there you go. I hope that answers your question.
We just had actually an experience like that with one of our customers the other day, right? Which was a 0-day attack, and we were able to identify it before the client even knew it was happening. We identified it, rectified it, and gave a triage report right away. So really, really important to be able to have those type of services in place.
Yeah. No, so check out our YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, Dan Duran, because I have a video on that cybersecurity 0-day phishing exploit that happened, and then explaining. And I have the actual footage of the exploit and all of that, the fake landing pages, and it shows very beautifully how one of my friends sends me an email, and like, I'm confident that's my friend, that's his email address, but he sends me an attachment, and then I click on it, and then I get hacked, right? So that's the level of sophistication in 0-day attacks, that if you can't trust people that that you're close. It doesn't come from a different type of email address or a different organization under you. It's very, very hard to detect, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. We have another question. These are great, guys. I appreciate them rolling in. So Eduardo, is installing antivirus software on mobile devices necessary?
Oh, that's a good question, and that's a hard one. It really depends on the organization. If you have an organization that is, it's a closed circuit organization where they give out phones, they usually have what's called an MDM, so mobile detection management, mobile device management. And basically what it does is a centralized management for mobiles, where you can send out like procedures and policies to your mobile, so people they're not able to download things, they have web filtering and things like that. They are not able to access different stores, for example, especially for Android, to download apps that are not part of the Google Store, etc. So that's in big enterprises, and it works very, very beautifully. However, when you have when your employees are connecting using their phone, things change a little bit, because if I'm using my everyday phone, which is my personal phone, for work, then things change. Then you need to really pay attention to the making sure that the OS is always up to date, right? That you always do security updates on your OS, and your applications that you're running have some sort of dual factor authentication, not just username and password. Those things, I think, for small companies, it's better than doing mobile management. I hope that. Antivirus, that it really depends. And I wouldn't say just antivirus. I think that's the old way of doing things. I would say malware. Malware encompasses everything that has to do with the bad stuff.
Right.
Any other question? Thank you, Eduardo.
Alexis, how common are these type of threats?
Yes. So there's two main main OS, right? You have your iOS, which is Apple, and then you have Android OS for Android. Apple, it's very good at security, right?
Absolutely.
As long as you keep your updates and you update all of your apps and your OS when it comes out, I think you're going to be very good. Android, now it's becoming better, but before it wasn't that good, because you can actually, there's a setting on your Android that you can change, and you can download apps not from the store or from anywhere, right? So
Third party,
there's a little bit of a problem in there. How common is it? Not very common, to be honest. Not very common, but it does happen, and it does happen in vulnerable industries, especially. Right. So that's why when you're in banking, when you're, you're in finance and for example, healthcare, like hospitals and things like that, they don't allow you to use your phone for anything, just because they, especially connecting to apps and things like that, because it does happen in those type of industries, right?
There's remember the courses. So we are very proactive in our organization for advancing our skill set with our team members. So whether it be in technology or cybersecurity, everybody's always currently becoming more and more updated. There's an actual course. It's for beginners that talk and directly speak to, Android and Apple phones and the importance of it. And it's a really great course. It's through, is it Udemy? I think, Dan, is that correct? The courses?
Yeah, Udemy has several types of courses.
Yes.
that
and
are
just a shout out to them, because if anybody's out there watching and they want to, take some really easy courses, they always offer great deals. There's some really great courses that you can take a couple hours and you can learn so much from it.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So any other questions out there? I'm liking this. Thanks, guys, man. Lots of questions.
Absolutely. They're just feeding through, which is great. I think we're just waiting on maybe any more. No, I don't have any more right now. Dan, do you want to pull up one of your questions, maybe that's really relevant for our audience today?
Absolutely. So one of the questions that people had is, what? Let me guys just going here. What are the protections that you can have in place to guard against data theft? So we're talking about data theft, right? So hackers stealing information from a company, compromising the triage, confidentiality, integrity, and of course, I forgot the other one. So data theft is, what I tell everybody is that cybersecurity is like an onion, right? It's layer by layer. You have to have different types of layers on your organization to be able to be protected from all angles, right? So one of them obviously is going to be a good firewall, and for small businesses, it's very affordable to have a firewall, a dedicated firewall that would do a good job. Right. So usually what small businesses do is they contract, let's say, Bell or Rogers or any other of these ISPs, and they give them what's called a SOHO. A SOHO is a single office, single user, right? Single office, single, forgot the O. But anyways, and what it does is three things into one. So one of them is a modem, the other one is a firewall, and the other one is your router, combined into one little package. And they're okay. However, if you're in a small business, it's better to have your own dedicated firewall, and then a modem, and then a router. So three pieces of three devices, as opposed to just getting the ones from the ISP. So firewalls are very important. They protect a lot of stuff. And then if you configure them properly, they do a really, really good job for you. You need to harden your IT resources. So, right. Make sure that your OS, your Windows 10 is always up to date. Every week, every Tuesday, actually, Microsoft comes up with a new patch for your system. Make sure that's automated for you, so you don't even see that. If you're a small company, you don't have an IT resource, then you should be able to automate this process very easily for yourself. Make sure you have strong encryption. So passwords need to be very strong, right? Use some sort of dual authentication. So I have Google Authenticator on my phone, and most applications do have dual authentication and multi-authentication, not just not just the authenticator, but for example, Windows Hello, right? So where you just put your face in there and it does facial recognition. You can have thumbprint. All of that stuff helps quite a bit in there.
Absolutely.
And
So, sorry,
in the
Dan,
last
go ahead.
one, and the last one, to protect from data theft, that is very important, is some sort of antivirus, anti-malware, EDR, so in endpoint detection and response. WebRoot, for example, is one. Bitdefender is another one. They're not very expensive. You can buy them, you can install them, and the nice thing is that they also come with what's called domain filtering, so web filtering. So if you go into Google and you search for something, they will be able to the antivirus will be, or the web filtering is going to be able to tell you whether that particular site is bad or good, and
Right.
that way it protects you from that, right? So
Which
those
is-
are
which
kind
is
of
a-
like the basic stuff.
It's a great visibility tool because you see it immediately when you're doing your Google searches and stuff. So fantastic. Actually, this is a really good question Julian's actually asked, because we've encountered that in this industry quite a bit, because there's a misconception along the way, but there is definitely a huge merger between the two. So Julian's asking, what is the difference between cybersecurity and IT? And it's a great question, because a lot of small to mid-sized businesses out there who have an IT individual or an MSP, they think that because they're in IT and they're being protected, and it's not always the case. And so maybe, Dan, do you want to address that? Or
Yes, absolutely. So nowadays, obviously, there's a merge between cybersecurity and IT, right?
Absolutely.
So IT is focused on making sure that the company's operation is always running, right? So if my computer is slowing down for some reason, there's going to be an IT person that can make it faster so I can work. In that protection, that like that basic protection, like 10, 15 different security controls that IT can use to maintain security inside of the company are very important. So, for example, Active Directory policies, some sort of RMM, so remote management and monitoring service where you can push patches all the time. We talked about the dual factor authentication. So IT does all of this part in terms of security. Now, cybersecurity it's dedicated to cybersecurity, right? It's not so much about the performance of a company, but it's more about making sure that there's a level of protection around the company from all angles. That's what cybersecurity does. And we have a few MSPs that are our partners, and we're channel partners for MSPs, obviously, that we help them protect their businesses. Because if you have, let's say, an IT person, right, working on your devices, working on your network, they won't have time to be able to do triage or analysis of all the warnings that are happening and they're being thrown by the firewall, by all kinds of collectors inside of the company, right? So they usually, what they do is they take that and they have a cybersecurity company go through that. And that's what we do at Rhino Cybersecurity. We do it automated. It's an automated process for us, but there's also a manual process where we do threat hunting and all of that stuff. So those are the main differences between the two, right? But they work beautifully together, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is, and the reason I think it's really important that we identify the difference between the two is the perception of getting everything protected through a cybersecurity mindset and not necessarily having the experience to have someone come in and actually walk through your network, walk through your all the tools that you have in place to basically give you the right direction to make sure you have that layer of security protection, not IT protection, but cybersecurity protection. So if whether you contact Rhino, you contact another organization that has the skill set to help you as a small to mid-sized business lay out a plan for you, I think that's really, really important, because not every business has the same requirements when it comes to cybersecurity needs either. So I think it's really important to have that experience behind you.
Yes.
I saw a question pop up that, because I think it goes hand in hand with this. Diego asks, what is the difference between a firewall and an antivirus? So
okay. Great. So that's a good question. People don't know what the difference are, right? So antivirus, so I'm going to call it malware, right? So not just antivirus again. Antivirus it is geared towards the endpoint. So my machine, my computer, right, my mobile, my servers, right. So it is host based for the endpoints, for the computers, for the laptops, workstations, etc. So it protects that. So like it catches trojans, it catches malware, all of that stuff, and stops that. They're actually very mature right now. All the antiviruses out there are some are better than others, but they do a pretty good job. Same with firewalls. Firewalls actually they're inside of the network, right? So you have a whole bunch of computers around, right? Let's say 20 computers, and they're all connected through Ethernet or through your Wi-Fi into a single point where there's a device that is blocking bad accesses from the outside in. Right. So just to make it short, firewalls are for the network. It's a device that sits on the network. Antivirus is a software program that I run on computers. Right. That's the
big
difference.
Different. The comment you made there, Dan, with firewalls, and I think this is a big misconception for a lot of people, and that's why MDRs are so important, becoming more and more popular in organizations. It protects the information coming from outside into a network versus a backdoor entry through a different way. So when you're actually inside the network already, maybe you want to just talk to that real quickly.
Yes, it's not necessarily a backdoor, but what firewalls do is like there's a wall between the outside and the internal side. So you have like bad things coming into the network, into the company, and they get stopped. But what happens is, what if I have some sort of malware inside of my computer, or I'm clicking on things, or I have a bad actor on my computer, and then I click, and that connection happens from inside to the out to the external world, right? So here's the firewall that will just go through the firewall, because as a user I'm generating that request to the outside world, right? So the firewall is like, oh, it's just user Andrew Summerton trying to make a call to this server in the cloud. So the firewall is like, Andrew Summerton is pretty legit, he's an employee, gets that through, and then that's how you get hacked, right? So external, from the external in, really good job. From the internal out, not so much. Yeah, they are susceptible. Not all of them. I mean, like they catch 80% of the stuff, bad stuff that's going from in to the outside, but that 20% is
absolutely, and that's why it's so important. I think you have those conversations based on your structure, your network, and your IT individual. If you don't have an IT individual, hire somebody who basically can come in and talk you through that, and talk you through the most cost-effective process to get you fully protected. Adrian has a question here. A VPN, a firewall, and an antivirus are enough to be protected?
Oh God, that's a really good question. No, it's not enough. It's not enough. You have to have procedures. You have to have policies. VPN, by the way, so a virtual private network, VPN, it's very important, right, to have. And I think you brought that up. I think it's really great to talk about VPNs, especially when you're working from home, right? So people are working more and more from home, and they need to connect to the office. And the best way to do it is through a virtual private network, because the information is encrypted, right? So even if you have, hopefully you won't have a bad Wi-Fi connection or encryption or any of that stuff, because you should be aware that you have to make sure that you have some sort of like WP2, for example, encryption on your Wi-Fi. Companies can maintain themselves secure by giving employees access only through VPN to their internal resources, right? But those three things alone, it's not enough, because of course the weakest link, as we established, is the human component. You have to have some sort of cybersecurity awareness training for your employees and policies.
McGill, is it advisable to use a dedicated VPN in a company to avoid man-in-the-middle attacks or things like that?
Yeah, and I think I just explained that VPNs are very important. Yeah, so and that's exactly what a VPN can. Not only does a VPN stop man-in-the-middle attacks. So man-in-the-middle attacks. Let me talk about man-in-the-middle attacks. Right. So you have a sender, right, and then you have a destinatory, right, like a receiver, two people. A man in the middle attack is basically somebody getting through in between, intercepting a connection or a message, and getting that information. And then what they usually do is they just let go of that to the receiver. So the receiver and the communication between the receiver and the sender, they don't even notice that there's somebody listening in, right? So it's eavesdropping basically. That's what it is, right? So a VPN will stop that because it is encrypted. So even if I get as a man in the middle attack, hacker, for example, I get that information, it's going to be all encrypted, mumbo jumbo, and I won't be able to understand. So that's why VPN is so important. But not only for that, but also for the company to be able to monitor what's going on with what employees are doing, right? Basically, especially when they're using company equipment, right? All right. What else do we have? Oh man, those are a lot of good questions.
I know. Here we go. You and I aren't even having a conversation this show, Dan. It's just answering questions, which is fantastic. We're so happy that each and every one of you are sending questions, and it's all about you. So we're happy to answer the questions, guys. Alexis, with working at home, is it also necessary to use a firewall? If so, do you have any recommendations?
Okay, so yeah, that's a really good question. Most of the Soho firewalls that the ISPs provide for home use are perfectly fine. Okay, so because they do stop 99.9% of all the attacks and all that stuff, right? So the reason why in my personal in my house I use a firewall, a dedicated firewall, is because of the input and the output and the bandwidth that I use, right? So if you're a developer and you need to stream a lot of data and receive a lot of data, and you have a lot of endpoints inside of your house. So, your wife has two computers and a phone, and then all your kids have phones, and then you have Apple or Google devices, all of that stuff. There's a lot of endpoints. There might be a bit of a bottleneck. Everybody connecting at the same time. So a firewall actually is not so much in terms of cybersecurity, but it will help. It will help expedite the services to everybody, right? So what are some of the recommendations? Netgear has really good devices out there. There's a Cisco that is specifically made for home use as well, that is not very expensive, that you can use. Those are, I think they're very good. All of them right now use the latest technology. The only thing, sorry to just drag this along, but the only thing that if you have a firewall that you buy, make sure that your firmware is always up to date, right? We see a lot of hacking happening because firmwares are on routers and firewalls are not up to date. All right.
And so
what else?
To all those questions, there's another question I'm going to ask in 1 second. To all those questions, those guys who are out there listening and watching, if you're not that knowledgeable about cybersecurity and you're hearing all these different words, acronyms, different sayings, different terminology, and you're going like, what is all that? I'm confused. Don't hesitate to reach out to us at Rhino and just ask the questions. We're here to help you guys. This is an information session. You're going to get bogged down with all kinds of information. And you're gonna be like, okay, I'm maybe more confused now than I ever was. It doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. And please don't hesitate. If you have something specific you want to ask us, reach out to us. We're happy to help.
Absolutely. It's so funny. It's so funny because, usually I'm the one asking the questions to all of our guests. And today I really feel like I'm on the firing squad and then just, I just got to answer the best I can.
Our special guest today, everybody, put your hands together for Dan Duran.
Bill, I see Bill is online. So Bill is one of my friends. We met in Clubhouse. Clubhouse, a really good app with, I believe it was with Manny Fernandez, really good, influencer out there. He's always on Clubhouse, and then that's where I met Bill, and we are connected on LinkedIn. He does voice over IP phone systems and stuff like that. So big shout out to you, Bill, for joining us, Bill, and asking questions.
Just put that back up again. Did you? Let's answer his question.
LastPass.
You got it. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. So it's LastPass good. Absolutely. That's my favorite. When at the very beginning, probably like a couple of years ago, we did research into what authenticate or what password management tools we could use for our businesses of our clients. And we were I think it was Dashlane was one, and then a whole bunch of other ones, and LastPass was one of the contenders. And we chose LastPass
Yeah.
because it's very secure. They never had a cybersecurity problem. Everything is encrypted end to end, using end to end encryption. And the nice thing, let me just explain to the audience what LastPass is.
Exactly.
Usually, when you need to create passwords, the old ways of doing it is where just a password 123, right? But we all know that doesn't work anymore. So LastPass is very nifty because you can create, and LastPass creates passwords for you, and you can have them all the way up to 32 characters, all mingled up and stuff like that. But you're never going to remember those passwords. Are you, Andrew?
No, never.
Never, of course. And so you use LastPass. Some people say, you know what, but Chrome and the browsers have their own password generator and a management tool. But I'm saying, what if you're on your device and you're not connecting to Chrome, but you're connecting to an application like your bank account and stuff like that, right? So LastPass, that's exactly what LastPass does. And that's the best part about LastPass, is that it is cross-browser, so you can have Safari, Firefox, Chrome, Edge, all of them connected to LastPass. Multiple devices, so it's not just one computer, but you can have your computer at home, your computer at the office, connected to the same account, and you can also have it on your phone. So when you're looking for or want to get into an app, then you just call LastPass in here, and automatically it will fill in your password. So that's why LastPass is great, and I think everybody should use it.
It's fantastic because, in all fairness, we're all creature habits, so we all have our special passwords, and I don't care how many times it's jammed down our throats. You use the same passwords, and then guess what? 2 months later, it's like, oh, time to change your password. So what do? You change your password with a 1 at the end of it, or you change a word in it or something. But it's very, very similar to keep it easy for yourself. LastPass is a fantastic tool and something that everybody can use. There's no question.
All right. Yeah. So Gladstone is saying lots of questions in here. Let's go to 1 p.m. Is that okay? Absolutely. Go ahead. We'll go all the way to 1 o'clock because we have lots of questions from you. We love you guys. Thank you for answering, for asking questions, and we're here to help. Right.
Absolutely.
So, anything else, Gladstone?
Adriana, can an organization be hacked through Google Drive documents shared with outsiders?
Yes.
That was easy.
Yep.
We don't have to go to 1 o'clock. It's that quick. Yes.
Yeah. It's especially when people are sharing zip files and things like that through Google Drive, right? So documents, not so much. I haven't heard of any, like macros or code inside of Google Documents and things like that. But yes, if you have something that Google cannot, sometimes what happens is you share stuff, and I don't know if this happened to you, has happened to you, Andrew. You share a file, like a zip file, and then Google says it's not able to, it's not able to do the antivirus scan on this document. Do you want to download it anyways? And you say yes, and then download it, because then you know that the source is me or somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, so sometimes it could get through. The other thing, that if you're sharing documents through the organization and they have to do with accounting, right? And somebody's faking an accounting a user and is sending you invoices and things like that, and then you can get like that's called social engineering, right? So you can get
a huge organization in Kitchener-Waterloo a couple years ago that I think that happened to, if I remember correctly.
$2.8 million.
That's right. We won't mention any names because we don't want to bring it back up. But yeah, it did happen. Quite a bit of money was taken from an organization not too long ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What else do we have?
Tamara, I recognize that name. Dan, do you know her?
Yeah.
Does allowing remote workers to much freedom in how and where they access the internet pose a potential security risk? Actually, that's
yes. So that's why VPN is very important to have in place, right? So whenever somebody is working remotely and accessing, like applications and CRMs and things like that are inside of the company, they should always have the VPN on, right? And if they don't have it on, then they won't be able to access those internal resources. So your IT department or your cybersecurity department needs to have that in place, so remote workers they need to use VPN to connect to internal resources. Why? Because especially if I'm using my own computer, my personal computer, I'm allowed to do stuff on my computer, right? I'm allowed to download, I shouldn't download torrents and things like that, or play Minecraft or Roblox and things like that, at my own time. It's my computer. I can do those things. So that's why companies need to be protected, and VPN is the best way that you can protect it. VPN, cybersecurity awareness training, right?
Personal experience again, Dan. We've had that same situation where somebody was heading off, and they had their computer was, it was their personal computer, but it was a work computer, and we had a major fire that we were fortunate to be able to put out quickly. But when we identified it, fixed it, and everything was great. But the person didn't realize what they were doing.
As a cybersecurity company, we see a lot of things like that, right? So unfortunately, we see people doing P2P, torrents, for example, downloading from, the Pirate Bay and games, like pirate software. We see connections to illegal activity, not illegal, but maybe not very good stuff, right? Remote connections to other entities. We see it as part of our MDR. One curious thing is somebody in one organization was crypto mining.
Yes.
They were using their own computer to crypto mine. And that just baffled me. It blew my mind. So your question, are we allowing remote workers too much freedom? They should have freedom, but cybersecurity awareness training is very important, right?
Yeah.
So there is a lot of risk and people need to be informed. So I hope that helps out.
Eduardo, if I use Linux on my computer, will I be protected against all cybersecurity threats?
No, unfortunately not. So Linux is a really good system to use. It's very secure. It's the most secure OS that you can use. So, kudos to you, because I know Eduardo might be a developer, right? Software developer that uses Linux. So as opposed to Windows. Linux comes with its own firewall, right? So I forgot the name of it. The UFP, I think, is the Linux firewall, and it's very, very secure, right? However, just like other OS, you always have to maintain them. You always have to do security updates to your distro, right? So it doesn't matter if you're using Linux Mint or Linux, any type of any flavor of distro in Linux, you have to maintain your computer, your OS. So yeah. Any other question?
Kevin, what is data mining? That's actually a good question, because we created a service for that.
Yeah. So I was talking about crypto mining. So data mining. Data mining. Data mining is basically finding information, right? So it's exactly what it says. Data mining is being out there, and it's actually not a really a cybersecurity problem if it's used a lot by hackers. Don't get me wrong, but data mining is actually a computer science discipline, right? Where you extract different data, collection of data from different sources, right? And sometimes this is where the whole privacy, like controversies involving Facebook and all of these applications come into Google, come into play, right? So because they do a lot of data mining, every time you log into your Facebook, you're giving Facebook information, right? So you sign up, not just your name and your email address, but behavioral information that they're receiving in terms of what you do at 7 a.m, for example. And
those it's around those creepy ads that follow you around. You're talking about something and all of a sudden you see it. That's all data mining.
Remarketing, remarketing and stuff like that. That's all part of data mining, the big umbrella of data mining, right? So, but cybersecurity, in terms of cybersecurity, hackers also data mine, right? So what they do is they they see Andrew Summerton, they crypt them on LinkedIn, on Facebook. They try to get as much information from Andrew Summerton as possible, so they can launch, attacks, like on you, right? So to hack you, phish you, or spear phish you, and things like that, right? So they have their own CRMs. I mean, don't get me wrong, the hackers are very, professional, quote unquote, people, where everything is organized for them in a fashion that a company would. They're just companies that are bad. That's basically what, and they do a lot of data mining.
For sure. Kevin's just adding to that question. So basically, what's the difference then between data mining and crypto mining?
Okay, so there is a difference, right?
Yeah.
So data mining it's mining for names and information about
Personal
people, things, like all of that. Crypto mining, on the other hand, even though the mining part it's the same, word, they're two completely different things. Crypto mining it's mining using your CPU, right? To be able to mine for cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Right? And then turn them into money for you. So every time you hash, and you're running hashes all day long with your CPU, and your CPU or your computer might make 20 cents or $1 a tops per day, depending on the capacity. And it's always trying to basically beat the algorithm. So running algorithms all day long, right, to be able to decipher hashes and things like that. That's crypto mining.
Right.
So it has to do with the cryptocurrency, basically.
Perfect.
Good question.
Dan, question. I'm going to ask a question just because I think as we're coming to the end of the show, even though I know we have lots of questions and we're happy to continue to answer them as we were asked. If you're a small to mid-sized business and you think you're protected, but you're not sure, what would my ultimate or my best plan of attack be next? If I'm thinking about, because everybody needs to be thinking about this, is critical. What should they be doing to make sure they're protected, or that they're doing the right things, that they are protected?
Yes. So you don't need, as a business leader, as a CEO, right, and as an executive, don't take things on your own hands, right? That's the first thing. You have to contract a specialist, right? So if you don't have an IT, competent IT professional, reach out, get an MSP, get an IT person to help you out with securing all of your assets, all of your stuff, right? Also, contract cybersecurity awareness training. There's a lot of courses, as you mentioned, Andrew, for your staff. If you do have an IT person, that IT person is very important for the operations of your company, but not necessarily for the cybersecurity. So make sure that you have some sort of budget in place, at least like 5% of the IT budget or 10% of the IT budget should be geared towards getting cybersecurity, right?
Absolutely.
If you have any questions, reach out to us, right? We give free advice, consultation, 1 hour consultation for free, in terms of seeing what's your security maturity in your company. We go through a questionnaire, right? And then we can create controls or a roadmap that leads you into cybersecurity maturity in short, medium, and long term. Right.
And that's a fantastic point, Dan, because not all businesses can afford to spend X number of dollars. You can do it in stages, and you can protect yourself along that process. So don't let make sure you go out there and you get a couple different quotes, or talk to a few different people, evaluate your situation, and all because there's a really large organization out there doesn't mean they have all the right answers for you. And I'm not knocking anybody. If they're more experienced than you, they're in the cybersecurity space or in the IT space, they're definitely or should be an expert. But just get yourself informed and educate yourself so you can protect yourself. That's the ultimate goal here.
Absolutely. So there's two rules, right? So cybersecurity, as you mentioned before, Andrew, it's, let's say you have a hole that is really big inside of your system, and you have a hole, is try to get it down as small as possible to a pin size hole, right? That's cybersecurity. That's what you're trying to do. And it's not done from one day to the other. It takes time. It takes a couple of months, it takes 3 months to be able to bring you up to speed in cybersecurity. And the second thing is you have to use what's called, and like the CyberSafe in Canada, CyberSafe. They say that it should be 80-20, like the 80-20% rule. So try to get the 80% of the efficiency and the success with the 20% effort, right? So in terms of the budget, so we don't want 100% because there's no such a thing as 100% cyber security, right? That will be very, very expensive. You have to have zero trust. You have to do so many things, right? But if you can get it up there, that is good for you. So, and the main reason is because hackers are just like any thief, they are opportunistic. So what did remember what Cedric was saying is it's not about how fast you can escape or how fast you can run. Just make sure that you're not the last one.
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, a perfect analogy is, and as you said, you talk about a big hole in a business and you reduce it to a pinhole. But if that big hole always remains, eventually somebody's going to see that opportunity and they're going to jump on it, right?
Yes.
If you're reducing it and reducing and reducing, you're making that opportunity for them smaller and smaller and smaller. And then by having an expert or having all the right measures in place, that little pinhole that you've created, we're always moving it too. So not only is it now tiny, it's always being moved. So you're never going to have that consistency where someone can just go over and it's an opportunity to get into the system. So by mitigating that risk, is going to give you that opportunity to make sure that nothing's foolproof. Don't let any organization ever tell you that there's a 100% guarantee behind something.
Exactly.
That's not reality. But what they do is they mitigate the risk as much as they possibly can by putting all the right tools in place.
Exactly. So think of it as a thief that is walking around at night and trying to open doors. He's just going to open the first doors that he sees. And if the door is locked, he might not even try. He's just going to go to the next door, right? So cybersecurity is the same thing. Time is very valuable for everybody, including hackers, right? So if they're going to spend some time trying to hack you, but if they're not successful, then they're going to move on to the next target. So that's what we're talking about, the 80% rule, and trying to get the hole that you have into a pinhole by being covered through cybersecurity. All right, so
perfect. Here, I know we have a couple more questions for sure. So Tamara asks, for the average person using multi-device every day, what is the most important piece of advice you can give us?
Device every day. So if you're talking about different devices, make sure that
iPad,
you have
maybe computer, phone,
lock them, right?
Make
sure they're not open. So make sure you have either facial recognition or a good strong password. Make sure you rotate them all the time. For even your computer, don't leave your computer open unattended, right? Make sure that you have a screensaver. That's what I do all the time, right? So I have a screensaver on my computer, and if I'm not in my desk in 2 minutes, the screensaver just pops up, and then when you try to access, it's going to ask you for the password, right? So even at home, especially because you're mobile, you go to a coffee shop and stuff like that, and you might be using your computer, and if it gets stolen and somebody accesses that information, so locking your devices, absolutely, that's the first one. And since I'm talking about coffee shops, make sure that you're not doing stuff. Coffee shops are not really good, right? They serve you with really good lattes and drinks and but they're not in the business of cybersecurity, right? So a lot of coffee shops, there's people in there or hackers that can actually access your computer if there's no encryption, there is a loophole. They can pivot. Sometimes they offer free Wi-Fi. Hackers offer free Wi-Fi, but it's coming from their computer, right? So you're like, oh, free Wi-Fi, and then you click, and you don't even know that you're connecting to a device from a hacker, right? So things like that. Be very careful. I caution everybody: do not use any website that does not have a security certificate. So HTTP does not have the S at the end, so they all have to have an S at the end, and they have to have that little like lock, green lock or blue lock, right, to be able to and that what it does is basically encrypts the data transmission. So if that's not in place, don't go to those websites, basically.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? So those are kind of a few things. There's so many so many things, because cybersecurity is it's like an onion again, But those are the two most important things that I would.
And I think to Dan's point, guys, and I think this is what I was alluding to earlier. We don't want to ever instill fear. That's not what this is about. It's all about education and information, right? The more knowledge you have, the extra step you're going to take to protect yourself or protect your business. That's critical. Just remember that the extra knowledge you have, or the more knowledge you have, will make you take that extra step to help protect you. And that's really what this is all about, right?
Yeah. Don't use the same password for everything. Please do not do that, right? Have something like LastPass. Bill actually suggested that, LastPass. It's only $4 per month. I mean, who cannot afford $4 per month on a monthly payment? Anybody could, right? Anybody can. So it helps you create passwords, right? So you don't have to use your like password for every device, because that's what hackers do. They, if they can guess your username and password for your Facebook account, then that might be the same password for that you use for your bank account as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely. Do we have any come into the top of the hour, everybody? This has been a lot of fun. Is there any more questions that we can have? Maybe one last question before we wrap it up. Any more that we want to ask?
I think we're good.
We're good, Bert?
Yes, absolutely. So next week, Chris Walker, the money problems go away at walker.ca. Do you know that jingle?
That jingle, absolutely. I know it.
Money problems go away
at walker.ca.
Yeah, he's a trustee in bankruptcy, right? And he's going to be talking about personal and business bankruptcy next week, Friday at 12 o'clock. Remember, LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. So don't miss out, right? So a very important conversation in terms of, bankruptcy and consumer proposals and everything that has to do with financial problems, right? So Chris Welker, very well-known bankruptcy trustee in Kitchener-Waterloo.
Beautiful.
Right. That's it. That's the end of the show. Thank you, everybody, for dropping by. We love you guys. All of our regular people, top fans, kudos to you. Thank you for tuning in every Friday, and we hope to see you next Friday as well.
Absolutely. And to any of those questions that may not have been answered, guys, we were inundated with them. So thank you so much. I know our producer put as many possibly as we can. We call our producer is Gladstone. Gladstone, thank you so much. He fields all our questions and our calls. So thank you for that. And if we didn't get to it, please don't hesitate. Please send us out an email, send us out a direct note, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Absolutely. So contact us, rhino.io, if you have any cybersecurity concerns or questions, comments. And that's it. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.